You are listening to Vector Maestros.
This is DTM with VectorMaestros.com and another great interview with a professional illustrator. A Vector Maestro is someone who can draw vector lines, manipulate anchors, create paths, and export a clean, crispy illustration scalable to any size required. Some Vector Maestros take the skills further with digital drawing apps and programs like Adobe Draw, Affinity Designer, and even Microsoft Expression Design. Our favorite, though, is Adobe Illustrator. The Vector Maestros podcast are companions to the VectorMaestros.com website, where you will find links to vector illustrations, resources, and tutorials spread all over the internet, including our dedicated YouTube channel, Flipboard magazine, blog, and monthly email tips and tricks. Our purpose is to allow anyone to explore their creativity and master the pen tool. We are proudly supported by Microsoft Surface, MICAtlanta, ArtistKing.org, and AzaleaCreativeGroup.com. In this first ever Vector Maestros podcast, we bring you the insight and advice of 6 illustrators making waves from Atlanta, Georgia. Our artists are Dubelyoo, Goldi Gold, Mr. Soul 216, Alan and Carrie Tupper, and Flux Sing. Find the YouTube link in the description for the uncut live broadcast. Plus, take the time to like, subscribe, and share. Now on to our Vector Maestros podcast.
Goldi Gold, Goldi, Goldi, New Jersey, New Jersey, all that. That's it, really. I do vector art illustrator, you know what I mean, amongst these dope people. So, that's it right there. I knew you was going to start with me first.
Yeah, you should have, so you do vector artwork. You've
Yeah.
been using Illustrator for a long time.
Yeah, for a hot minute. I can't even, only time I remember how long I've been using it, when you see that Facebook and it be like, 7 years, and you're like, dang, I did that picture 7 years ago, so.
And then you pick it apart and you're like, this is everything wrong with it.
Yeah, so, yeah, for a good while.
So, and your themes have been hip-hop.
Yeah, majority of the time hip
Why?
hop. Cause I grew up in hip hop. It's
man.
yeah. I mean, I listen to it while I'm working. You know what I mean, and it's like my own interpretation of people that I, enjoy listening to. But I don't not only do hip hop, but I do my peoples. I do a lot of things. So, but hip hop is what people usually gravitate to.
Okay. So that's Goldi Gold. And next person we have, Flux Sings. Hello, sir.
Flux Sings. I do that as well. Turtle Brown, but be on the lookout for that. But Flux Sing, short for Craig Flux Singleton, vector artist, hand-drawn artist, self-taught in a sense of illustration. I've been doing vector, working in Illustrator since '94, and yeah.
Okay. Wow.
From Queens, New York. Went to the High School of Art and Design. Dabbled in advertising and graphic design and a little bit of painting now.
All right. Nice. I don't think I've seen your. Oh yes, your big installations. That's not a little bit. That's a lot of it.
You've been painting our shows for like
Yes.
I mean, I'm just saying in terms of how frequent I do.
Oh, okay.
Frequency. I need to turn up the frequency a little.
Yes. Awesome. Well, welcome, sir. Thank you for coming through. Mr. W.
Yep, Dwayne W. Wright from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. From Fayetteville?
Yeah, I'm from Vietnam.
What school? What high school?
Vietnam.
What high school did you go to?
Massachusetts Classical Academy.
Oh, okay.
Academy.
I'm familiar with
Vietnam
this.
stuff going on. I know Academy.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, I went to my course.
Well, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Been illustrating since '99 and specialize in, I guess, painting and design. Been using Illustrator since the late '90s, and that's me.
All right, sweet. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I know it's okay if you talk about your projects. So you are the curator of R&B and lyrics. You travel the world. You get paid big money, and you do all kinds
This
of
is
stuff.
great propaganda. Yes, pay him big money.
Yeah.
Pay him.
Right.
Yes. So thank you, sir. Mr. Soul. 016.
That's right. I am Kevin Hart. My colleagues call me Mr. Soul. Soul for short. I am from Cleveland, Ohio. I've been in Atlanta for going on 20 years, and I've been using Illustrator since the late 90s as well. I specialize in vector art, but I also do Photoshop. I do traditional art, pen and ink, markers, acrylic, aerosol, and I am a member of the world famous City of Ink Crew. And I'm here today to share some knowledge and wisdom with my good brother Dan the Man and this great panel that I'm sitting next to.
Word up, word up. So I just figured out that a Periscope is not working so well. So I apologize. I hope that everybody's using the YouTube and Facebook Live app. Periscope not so well. So sorry for the Periscope people.
They can hear you or they just can't see.
It's just a bad. It's just not working so well. I don't understand.
Well, everybody who got here, YouTube was here first, so go to YouTube.
Yeah, go to YouTube. All right, cool. So we did have 8 viewers while it was working. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. Awesome. Well, thank you, sir, for coming through. And next we have Mr. Allen.
Hey there, I'm Alan Tupper, originally from the wild north of Maine. Yeah, we can talk lobster. But I've been in Atlanta for a little over 10 years now. I use Illustrator primarily for background illustration for animation and game dev. I run a web comic called Kamikaze Animated with this beautiful lady and another partner. And yeah, I'm really psyched to be here. Get to share some knowledge and learn something from these fantastic folks who've been working on it a lot longer than I have.
I guess it's me.
Yeah.
Miss Carrie.
I am Carrie Tupper. I create Kamikaze with Alan. I'm one of the lead writers and ink and paint artists there. I have been working in Vector in everything but Illustrator. So we have a little bit of a rocky relationship, but that's okay. Yeah, so I enjoy making comics, and that's what I do.
And as previously noted, you're from
Oh
North
yeah,
Carolina.
and as previously noted,
Yes.
I'm from North Carolina by way of England. So yay, pretty cool.
Sweet. Sweet. I'm DTM. I'm your host, and I'm here to facilitate. And it looks like Facebook is coming down too. Damn internet.
Not the
Come on, there we
face.
go. It's back. It's back. Lord have mercy. All right. So at least YouTube is on. All right. So first questions that I have is when did you first hear about Illustrator being a thing that you can draw on the internet? So anybody who wants to answer, you can go first, sir.
Well, first, I started out doing vector work in a program called Aldous Freehand.
Oh, wow.
Aldous is not a company. They were bought by Macromedia. Macromedia
Not
isn't a
a
company.
company.
They were
Adobe.
bought by Adobe. But I did a lot of my vector work in freehand, and then I had a colleague of mine, rest in peace, Rick, who designed clothes, and he used Illustrator. He would always advocate me jumping over into Illustrator because of the flexibility. It was just more powerful. Illustrator was always more complicated than I cared for it to be, but once I got into it, I saw and understood the reasons why, and I never went back. I think freehand got real lonely on my hard drive.
Freehand was cool.
It was.
really
Freehand
cool.
was a great program, but you know, I switched over to Illustrator, and Illustrator had, I think they had more powerful tools, and then it integrated better with Photoshop at the time.
Yeah.
So this was again, you know, mid to late 90s for me, when I started learning how to take because actually at the time, what I used to do, Adobe had a program called Adobe Streamline.
Yes.
Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Adobe Streamline was like the mother and father of what Auto Trace is now. It was a standalone program that allows you to vectorize your artwork. So I would do a pencil sketch, pen sketch, streamline it to create line art in Adobe Streamline, and then I would dump that into freehand. So in order to get a better process, seamless process, I just started using Illustrator more.
Sweet. And were you interested in it when you first heard about it? Was that something that made you think, this I would like to explore that? Or
I was always interested, and I actually had both programs, but I was taught in art school on freehand. We didn't really explore Illustrator a lot. You know, and then when I had started to expropriate the proper books to teach me how to use that, y'all look up that word.
That's
y'all
not-
know what that is.
He was just waiting to use that joint. Like,
Expropriate.
okay.
And I started to see, I started to learn more about how Illustrator was more beneficial, and that's what made me take the switch. That plus my friend being in my ear.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I know that when I first heard about Illustrator, and that was not really Illustrator, people drawing on computers, I'm like, and this is in the 90s.
Yeah.
In 91.
It was
So a long time ago.
desktop publishing.
Yes, and people were like, you should go in there into this office, and you know they got computers, and you can draw on computers. I'm like, who gives a damn about that? and that there you have it. Now that's it. That's the normal. Anybody else who?
Shit, for me, it was
There you go.
it was art institute. Going there, they first had us working on IBM computers, right?
Oh, wow.
And I ain't like it at all.
IBM.
They had us working like doing text.
The bulk of they, cause like,
Yeah, they was IBM, and then they was like the next year they was like, yo, we gonna be moving to Mac because that's what everybody's gonna be using. And I was like, word, because and I think the thing about IBM, it was the user, it wasn't user friendly for me. Like, I was like, all right, I gotta make another folder in this folder, and in this folder. I was like, why can't I just get to the motherfucking program? You know what I mean? So then when they put us on the apples, I was like, oh, this shit is smooth. You know what I mean? And then I found out about the programs. They had Photoshop. I actually had a class for Photoshop and Illustrator. And when the teacher said, yeah, you could just scan your illustration and retrace it in there, I said, oh shit! What? Y'all could just do that, man. And that had me charged up. And at that point, I strictly was using Illustrator. I said, fuck Photoshop. I'm gonna just do Illustrator for everything.
Which is interesting for me because I started out in Adobe using Photoshop when it was 2.0. No layers. No nothing really. But because my background was airbrushing, fine art painting, and graffiti, and the guy who introduced me to Photoshop said you should use this program. But now, so then I was like, I did everything in Photoshop. Now I probably see Photoshop maybe 10% of my day. I'm in Illustrator all day, every day.
Right.
I don't even see Photoshop. I see Photoshop to resize things and you know, lighten it up and everything. But the bulk of my time is in Illustrator, and it was because in the Art Institute they only had like how many Macs? They had like 2, and everything else was like the IBM.
Yeah, when we first got there, and then when they made the switch, it was like they just overhauled the whole program.
But the thing is, when you went to Kinko's, they only had like two Macs,
Right.
and everything else was the other computer, and most of their employees didn't know how to use the Mac.
Yeah.
So they trying to tell you, what you're doing is wrong. You got to do it through that. So that was an issue to make. Like, yo, I got to get my own computer.
Alan?
Yeah,
You're younger than us.
Yeah, I am, and it's really interesting you guys talk about art industry because that was our experience too. We like a little bit farther behind you guys, so we had the Art Institute's like 2004.
Okay.
So it was like a 50-50 split on Mac versus PC, and more or less by that point, most of the compatibility crap had been figured out.
Yeah.
But it was always a better experience working on the Macs.
Yeah.
With our process, we at least with my part, because I'm doing the backgrounds, I'm doing the vector build out of the background in Illustrator. Then I'm taking that to Photoshop to do like gradient and like color grading and texture.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm ping ponging back and forth between the two.
But when did you when did you first hear about Illustrator or Draw on computers? So what was it like?
I grew up under a rock, so it wasn't really until I got down here and I really started like really digging into the digital illustration pipeline. Like, before that, I was using like Paint Shop Pro, which was a terrible program.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember that.
They had that cool liquefied tool.
The dodge and burn
The
tools.
dodge and burn. This is how you shade.
Right.
Yeah.
Never again.
Never.
Never again.
Actually, I have to give a shout out to my stepdad because I have to give him an apology. I was in college, not college, I was in high school. It was my junior year of high school, and he was so excited because he got me for Christmas, he got me an Illustrator's program. It was Illustrator 10.
Wow.
And he was like, I got you as a gift, and he's so excited. And so I'm sitting there using it, and I'm like, I don't understand a damn thing about what this is. So I'm looking at the book, trying to figure it out, and it gets so frustrating. See, there's no YouTube at that point. And,
Right.
Yeah.
we're using like Lycos as our main, as our main.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
where are they now?
Lycos.
Lycos is, go Lycos, as our main search engine, and they don't have the tutorials and stuff out there now.
Yeah.
So I
Did
was
it by the
using this
book.
program, it like completely impatiently, and I just gave up on it. And I have to give him some credit because he tried. He really tried. But yeah, that was my first experience with it, and it was so frustrating that I've stuck to things like anytime I'm doing vector artwork, I'm sticking to, Photoshop vector lines using their work, even though technically it's raster images. It's something that I just find way more intuitive, and then I've also used Flash as well. So, and because I come from an animation background, that's I'm not doing graphic design in Flash for the life of me, but I'll make a ball down.
I think it boils down to it's like with anything, it's really about understanding, overstanding, and mastering your tools. I have a friend of mine who's a great logo designer. Her name is Becky. And I actually got her to start using Illustrator because she did all of her logo work, all her vector work in Photoshop. And what she produced, it looked like Illustrator work. So I was like, you would probably have a better time at, work moving around in Illustrator. And so once she hopped into Illustrator, she began to see how more fluent she could be because the tools support, you being able to do better quality vector work. But, I've seen some great vector work from Photoshop, it's just a matter of whatever works best, for you. For me, Illustrator, I don't know, it's just something about the allure of clean, crispy lines, bold colors, and the ability that an Illustrator gives you to manipulate that in so many different ways using the tools that were created in that program.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think for me, another draw between Illustrator and Photoshop was the pixels. The whole idea of the pixels, like you gotta have your image the largest in Photoshop, and you can't blow it up. And
Yes.
Yeah.
like the memory as well, like saving shit. Your Photoshop file might be like 600 megs, and back then,
It will crash your computer.
right? Back then, that shit was too much. You be like, let me get this Illustrator shit. It made it way easier to move images around and change shit. So definitely that.
I got into Illustrator like in college, and I think the first copy of Illustrator I pirated back then was
Everybody.
was
Someone
Now keep in mind, this is back when you could actually
Don't do
copy.
that.
You can copy the folder and just drag it to the computer and open the file.
Uh-huh.
You could
It
do
used to
that.
be.
Back in
You
the
could
day.
do that.
Yeah.
And that's how I had Streamline.
Me too.
I just went on my zip disk, dragged it over, and then opened it up.
Uh-huh.
It was like Illustrator maybe 9 or earlier than that, and yeah, so it was very, very basic.
6.
It was very, very, because in college I think it was about like 6.
Yeah.
So like by the time I got out of school, it was like maybe 8 or 9.
I got in about 5, but I want to piggyback on what you
Yeah.
said about the zip disk. So when I went to school, there were no zip disks.
Right.
Yeah,
those
that
are
No,
happened
man,
in the middle.
I used to creep. I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, so we used to creep into University of Pitt or Carnegie Mellon and use their computer labs, so they would stay open late.
Yeah.
Yo, man, there's nothing worse than going into a computer lab that you're not supposed to be in, and you have a stack of floppy disks like this just to load the program in.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you got another stack of floppies like this to load the project that you're working on.
You get
So
like
I had to use what was it called, disk doubler, so that you could double the size of the disk to store your files or whatever. But just that's some prehistoric shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that
yeah.
shit is crazy
Did
because
you
I
have-
think about how much you used to fit on a 1.5
Yeah.
disc.
Yeah.
you can't even
then-
save a Word file on this thing.
Right, 100
Right.
megs on a zip disk was like, what?
Woo!
Yeah.
Then
That
the jazz came out.
Jazz drive?
Jazz
Science
drive
gone
and
too
shit.
far.
Jazz
It
was
was like,
yeah,
oh,
Jazz
shit.
drive. That was a cool name, but then
Yeah.
faded away. Jazz drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it Blu-rayed itself.
Yeah. Blu-ray.
No, it's
Mini
crazy,
disc
that's
itself.
So let's talk about your art and your creative process. You can talk about it in terms of the traditional methods or digital methods and what your workflow is like. So let's talk about the creative process and where your art comes from. So we'll start from our right, us watching, our right, it'll be Carrie, and work our way over.
Okay, so this is talking about my process.
Yeah, your creativity, where it come from, what inspires you, and how that develop.
Right now, the only thing I work on is kamikaze. So a lot of the process that I take or I go through is so closely connected to what Alan does that I don't even know where to start.
Well, more or less what happens is,
Because you're on the team, so you can help answer that.
So we work on a comic page basis. So we produce a page. I do like a rough layout drawing. I draw like a monkey on cocaine. So Havana comes in and actually does the clean pencils. That gets scanned in. There's a little bit of like last minute revision, like any 3D models that we're adding in as far as like reference. That gets added in. Carrie takes that and does ink and paint and Photoshop on it. And then I split off and I do the backgrounds starting in Illustrator and SketchUp for like 3D ref. And then once I've got a build out and I've done like a grayscale like tone map of like the different areas, I take that back into Photoshop and start doing color and all that crap. As far as
I guess as
inspirations,
far as inspirations go, I mean, we really look a lot at a lot of the classic animation that you saw in like the 90s. So like, Batman the animated series, X-Men the animated series, Gargoyles, stuff that has that noir feel. And I think when it comes to actually, the direction of where the comic is going, we try to keep that sort of animated look so it feels and looks like you're watching, like you're reading an animated piece. And I think having the vectors, especially Alan doing the vectors in the back for the backgrounds, just makes those pages sing because everything's clean, everything's gorgeous. There's a way that these backgrounds just sing when you have the vectors in place, and he does everything beautifully.
I don't know about that.
You do it gorgeously. I love it.
And where did those ideas come from? Like, that's what you're doing now.
Yeah.
But when you first started this path, how did that?
Well, when we were starting to like settle in on the style for like the backgrounds, I was like mercilessly ripping off of like the most recent projects I've been working on for like bento box animation. Like I was working on The Awesomes, which was a show on Hulu, and they were doing like a very like retro, flat, background style, almost almost like minimalistic, graphic, but still with like some rendering. And I was like, all right, how can I take the skills that I'm doing like, as my 9 to 5 and just like import that over and make it look like what I want it to look like.
Right.
So it was really almost a calculated move just to be efficient and just to be able to pivot as fast as possible to get stuff done without having to like really do a huge mode switch back and forth between the two projects.
Okay. Well, cool. Thanks.
My process or inspiration? Where I start?
Well, either one. Start however.
I'll start with inspiration. Inspiration. I have a list of artists, my go-to artists for, especially for vector work, that keep me on my toes. One of them happens to be on the panel right now. Actually, two of them happen to be on the panel right now. I'm an admirer of Goldi Gold's work because of his fluidness and his swiftness in producing work. And Flux, mainly because I think, in Atlanta, Flux is probably the closest artist that mirrors my style in terms of, graphic design, illustration, brand identity, and logo design, and painting. And then online, there's OGABEL, OGABEL. There is Hydro74, HYDRO74. There's a guy named Dane Henry, DAYNE, Henry. And Sweda, SWEYDA. These are all my top Vector Maestros. I study their work a lot. That's where I find my inspiration. My process is I never want to lose my traditional connection to pencil and paper, so my process always starts with a pencil sketch. Depending on what the project is, it could be extremely loose or it could be extremely detailed. But in that pencil sketch, as I execute the pencil sketch, I'm thinking ahead in terms of how I'm going to execute this look, feel, this style in Illustrator. So one thing with designing for vector work is that you have to know what the end result is going to be, so that when you do the pencil sketch or you do a reference sketch, it's set up for you to properly do. Then I'll take a picture with that, send it to my computer, and then I create a layer in Illustrator as my sketch layer. I usually create that at a transparency, like let's say 50%, and then I'll use a bright color, like a red, to start my tracing of that image. I work a lot in layers because I like to keep my pieces clean, and I never know if they're going to be used to be animated or for whatever. So if I'm doing a character, there's a layer for the face, there's a layer for the hat, there's a layer for the arms and the hands.
You and I work a lot.
What?
Yeah, you and I work a lot.
Because I never know, like, I'm always thinking that my work, the work that I can produce, will at some point, maybe it'll be animated. So I set that up, again, keeping the long term in mind.
Yeah.
So I work in a lot of layers. And yeah, I use, my style is pretty much real crisp, clean lines. I don't use a lot of points. I've mastered the Bezier, what did we say? The Bezier curves and the pen tool. The pen tool is the most valuable tool that you could ever learn in Illustrator. Fuck all the fancy shit. The pen tool is where it goes down. So all those artists that I mentioned who inspire me, nobody uses auto trace. Nobody is doing live paint. They're click point, drag, curve to get that perfection. So my style is real crisp, clean lines, simplicity, and using color to create depth. So case in point, I might have a flat red, then I'll have a highlight red, and I have a shadow red. So that if I screen print that, that's 3 colors to print that design. Or if I'm just printing it, then it creates the illusion of depth without using a whole bunch of colors. Like in Photoshop, you would be using a maximum range of colors. And then that's my style. And then I may take that into Illustrator and do, not Illustrator, into Photoshop if I'm looking for a certain effect or texture that I can't get in Photoshop. But a lot of times, I don't leave Illustrator. I bring textures into Illustrator. So, like I said, I'm like 90-10. You know, I really only use Photoshop when I'm doing a painterly style piece, you know, with my tablet. Other than that, that's pretty much my process.
Sweet. Very cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. My process, it depends on the project, but a lot of the stuff I do now in the painter side of things is collage, and I do a lot of my collaging in Illustrator as opposed to Photoshop.
Okay.
So with Illustrator, you have the option of finding a pattern out there that you like, and just auto trace the pattern, and then you can change the colors and all that and work it into what you got going on. Now, consequently, my file size becomes huge because I'm having 300, 400 meg. So, and that's because of like a lot of the photos that are in there in the collage work. And I find that useful because now I can reuse parts again and again and again. And then after that, I do my thing, print it out, then I can start the painting process. But when it comes to things like murals, I do a lot of the vector illustration. You know, I sketch it out or draw it out in Illustrator, design it, break down all the colors that need to go where they need to go, get samples of all those colors, project it onto the wall, and then paint by numbers. Now, it's simple until you start having a lot of numbers. It's simple when you got 6 numbers. When you got like 40 numbers, and it's more complex. But so if you're out there trying to do that, try to simplify that shit. You'll be out there.
That's one of the things I like about your work, W, is your ability to go from an Illustrator style piece to a fucking large ass mural. Like that piece you did in Mechanicsville is amazing. When I go past it, Illustrator on the wall.
That's right, yes. Yeah, it looks like Illustrator on the
Wait till
wall.
you see the one I'm doing now. The one I'm doing now is like 32 different colors.
What?
Where is that?
It's in Sandy Springs.
Where at?
It's at the back of a park. So you go to Morgan Falls.
Yeah.
Then you go to the athletic field. You drive up the hill. You drive past the fields. And you go to the back.
Damn.
And then.
Why are they putting you all the way in the back?
Well, because it's a big, nice concrete wall.
Oh, okay.
It's a huge wall.
That's the long wall you're working on.
Yeah, the long
Yeah,
wall.
okay.
I'll be working on it today and tomorrow. One color at a time. Like yesterday, I had to fix things because I was like, yeah, I'm in the zone. I don't need to look at my reference. I'm good. And then I looked at the reference. I'm like, oh no. So I had to go back and fix a lot of that yesterday. So, but yeah. So once you get your drawing and all that, and you break it down. Now I wrote down. I need to work in more layers. I need to do that because I try to like, okay, I don't need layers. I just make
Illustrator.
Yeah, I need to work. Now I'm thinking back. You know how many projects would have been a lot easier.
Yeah, because it's easier to go
more
to
layers.
it's easier to go to a certain section and turn. Because sometimes when you start creating a whole lot of paths and shapes, that shit get complex.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
you can isolate. Like I can turn off the hat, the arms, and the legs, and say, okay, I want to focus on this particular area. But when you have that one layer and you hit that triangle, and that should be like this.
The whole thing lights up.
And another thing that I do is, not all of them, I name my layers. So that when I open that triangle, I can go exactly to...
And you use the folders, please. The
have-
folder systems.
They have fold. You can use folders in Illustrator.
Oh yeah.
You can have folder
Folders
systems.
in that layer.
Yeah.
Well, you know, layers, once you start
Oh,
stacking the
yeah,
layers
yeah,
together.
I was like, whoa, wait a
Hey,
minute.
use the folder
Gotcha.
system.
Note
Yeah,
yourself.
true.
Use folders too.
I call them folders. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but I know you can group layers together.
Yeah.
And you can have sub layers under sub layers.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with Illustrator is that it is definitely layer intensive, whether you create your own layers or not.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Flux, sir. What's your creative process like? And
I mean,
Inspiration.
mine is pretty simple in terms of the process. Whatever I'm drawing, I draw it first, scan it, and then start tracing. Now, depending on what type of style I want to use, that determines how I trace it. Because if I want uneven lines in different shapes, I would probably just use the pen tool. But if I want an overall even line, I might use the what's it called, the path, the Pathfinders.
Yeah.
I'll probably use that, and I got that idea from Soul, so he definitely inspired me on that. I was like, oh, this shit is way quicker. You know what I mean? But that's if I want an even line all the way around. But if I want different shapes and different sizes of line, I would just trace it through that. In terms of layers, I am one of those cats that I have everything on one layer, unless it's like templates that I need to subscribe to. Like working in the design of like I'm working on an album cover right now, so I got the measurements on one layer and then the art on another. So that's the only time I usually use those layers. Everything else is like my main image I have, and then everything else surrounding that I kind of freestyle. You know what I mean? It really depends on the look that I want to go for. If I want texture in it, and I would use Photoshop mostly for my textures. But mostly, you know, it's just freestyling. And I tend to try to simplify it now. I think because I'm getting lazy. You know what I mean? Lazy in the sense of I like the traditional aspect of drawing. So it's like, you know, I have this one idea and then I want to just go crazy with whatever comes out. You know what I mean? And I'll add that aspect to it. So I guess the planning stages of my work, I kind of shrunk them down to a few.
So it's more. So you're experimenting more, and you really have your own style when it comes to your art. So it's okay to do one layer or experiment because it's your piece anyway.
Right.
That's how I am when I'm doing my own artwork. I may not name my layers. I may just do whatever because I know nobody touching this but myself.
Right.
You know. But yeah.
Basically. So, you know, that's what it is. I kind of freestyle on that. Inspiration-wise, of course, there's artists, like the artists in the room that I know for years, always inspire me. And there's other cats, man, but I don't know, lately, it's really just depending on the subject matter that inspires me.
Right.
The subject matter, whatever I'm going through, whatever I'm feeling.
And what I like about the stuff that you put together, you're very precise about your lines, but it's very wild. But the artwork is wild.
Right.
You know, but it's very clean, precise lines. Yeah, it's awesome.
Right. Yeah, because I like that clean. That's that thing about when I first got introduced to Illustrator. It was like when I heard that you could put your drawings in it, I was like, oh, I could have this shit looking sharp as hell. So that was it. It was like, I'll make sure everything is clean.
Right.
Then in terms of converting it for, you know, t-shirt designs or like print design and stuff of that nature, it keeps it clean so you ain't got to worry about cleaning stuff up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's seamless with that.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Mr. Goldi Gold, share with us a little bit.
My process, I don't know, man. It just
he just wake up and the art be here, man. He works.
I just
he produced it a high.
man, I just take a lot of like pictures and sometimes I save them and like just have them on deck and just start going when I feel like going. But a lot of it is like I have sketches all over the dang place. That's why when I see W with his sketches in the nice little pile and all that, I was like, dang, man.
Yes.
I was like, I wish, you know what I mean? I got sketches behind sketches and all of that. So, but that keeps me going. And you know, I watch all three of these dudes, but I don't watch they vector. I know they dope in vector. I watch more they painting style, and I incorporate that with what I do in my vectors because it's like it's certain details they do on their painting they don't do in the vectors. So I watch them closely with how they do that and just really try to flip it with how I do my vectors. So it's like draw, scan, get on the computer, TV on, headphones on, documentary right there, another sketch right there. work on that. I might work on something on the computer and sketch or something at the same time. So it's like how I consume my time where, yeah, I do a little bit of a lot. So
All the stimulus. Just
yeah. I'm not one of the artists where, yo, it gotta be real quiet. I'm burning food. I'm doing all type of stuff all at once, you know. But it gives me a whole lot of energy just to knock out pieces. And sometimes I try to knock out stuff in the day. Sometimes I just let it sit, or I'll be like, yo, I need to let it sit. But yeah, that's usually the process. Draw, scan, get on the computer, work on it. I think the longest part is really the colors, because I want the colors to be really right. So all the colors people usually use, I try not to use, and just keep it going. When I'm done with that, that's dope. On to the next one. You know what I mean? So that's usually my process.
So do you have like some illustrations right now that are waiting for coloring before you say you're finished?
Nah. I mean, only time I do that is usually like I might start on it before I go to work, and then go to work, then get off of work, and jump on it if I'm not tired. But I don't have like just. I might have sketches, just like, you know, I might want to work on that, or I might have pictures. I was like, dang, I'm feeling that now, you know, so I want to work on that. So, but it be spontaneous, you know what I mean. So, but I just try to keep it going. Then sometimes I be like, man, I need to eat. You know what I mean? So you lose track, but it's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing.
You're at those points where, you know, you've been working for hours and you stand up and you're like, crap, I gotta go.
Yeah, for real. I think I'm always reminded when I get a headache, I'm like, dang, I ain't even drink no water.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so the next question is, and we're gonna keep going back the other way, start with Goldi, is when did you realize you had an art style, and were you searching for it? Was that something on your mind? A lot of people always ask me that, you know, and it's like you need to put in some time into art, just drawing something before you get there. And but what's it like for you, and how have you used that?
I don't know. I didn't realize it until a lot of people just start saying, I knew that was your work. You know what I mean? Or especially online, we've had the case where somebody throw up our artwork and don't give us credit, or tell people like, yo, this is the artist that did the artwork. So you have people that comment like, oh, that's Goldi Gold that did that, or that's W that did that. Or, you know, then the person that posted be like, oh yeah, he did do that. so that's why it's always good to have a style for those cases right there, because, you know, 9 times out of 10 we just out here grinding. We don't even think about that. And that's how, you know, that's how I felt with my style. I didn't even think about it until, you know, people start really recognizing it without me putting my signature up, or you know.
Would you say it took days, hours, weeks, years to get to that point?
Well, I mean, I think it take time. You know what I mean? Because I always feel like I'm still growing. You know, so, but it's mostly like you have a foundation. That foundation is your style, and you just constantly growing with it. So people might see it like, I know it just based off of the colors or how he used the line, but I know that's his style. So that's with me. I constantly try to, you know.
So it's still evolving. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. It got to, because if it don't, I'll be like
tired.
You know what I mean? So I just it got to with me. That's why I don't try to hold on to a piece too long. You know what I mean? I might have my little favorites, but I try not to hold on to a piece too long, because that'll be the piece that you'll be like, all right, this is my favorite. I might have had 1 million likes on that. This what I need to push. You know what I mean? This what everybody's feeling, and you get caught up. You know what I mean? I think the only time you should push it is when you're creating merchandise, because you already know the demand is there. Oh shoot, all these people feeling that, all right, I'm going to sell this, but I'm going to keep on going with my style, you know what I mean? So that's the only way I think you should really be stuck on it. But other than that, just keep it moving, because there's so many different methods and styles and artists. Like, when you think you've seen it all, you turn around, you be like, dang, you know what I mean? So that's why it's always good to be searching. And you don't have to even search just with visual art. It's photography, it's movies and everything. Everybody had their own interpretation of expression, so I absorb all of that.
Gotcha. I do have a follow-up question, because somebody asked on YouTube.
That's my mama. What's going on?
Somebody asked if you could repeat the tool that you were talking about when you said you wanted your lines to be the same size.
Oh, that was.
Well, that was you. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, the Pathfinder tool. So it's like an exclude. You make shapes and use the exclude. Yeah, that'll give you the even thing. Or just a pen tool, just 1 point or 2 points. Everything you do, you might trace it all in 1 or 2 points or whatever. And then once you got your line shape, you could use what the hell is that?
That's the stroke sculpting tool.
Nah, it's a command where you change your lines into shape.
Yeah,
expand that.
Expand it,
yeah.
So you change your lines into a shape. Then I might use the Pathfinder to make it all one line, so it's all one shape.
Right. Okay, I got you.
And then,
Yes.
And then I make a shape around that, exclude it, and then it's that lines right there.
So it's two things that we're mentioning right now.
Pathfinder and a pen tool.
Right. So the Pathfinder, Pathfinder is to chop things up or make them all one thing, one shape overall.
Right.
And then the Pathfinder and the pen tool
Is to make
the lines, right? But then you can always
lines itself.
right. Even meaning they're the same thickness all the way through the whole line. Yes.
Correct.
Awesome. All right. Cool.
Right.
Yes, sir. So go ahead and tell us about what was my question?
Style.
Yeah, style. How did you get to your style? Did you work on it? Was that something you thought about?
It's definitely something I worked on, but I didn't think about it in terms of a style. I thought about it in terms of, it really started off as getting better. Just naturally wanting to get better. You know what I mean? And through wanting to get better, you decide what type of line styles you want to incorporate. So as you're practicing, you might be like, I don't like the way that looks. Let me try this way. And then once you start developing the shapes, it's like, oh, I kind of like that right there. I like where that's going. Then you start to visualize it in your mind, so then it gets easier. The more you do it, it gets easier in terms of executing what you see in your mind. And once you see that, and when it's based off of what you like, so that becomes your style. You know what I mean? And with that, it was always getting better. Now I want to see what else, or experimenting, trying different things. I'm like, oh, okay, I like this, I like that. And that's what developed my style. I actually did a post probably about 2 weeks ago on Instagram. I posted a bunch of illustrations, and it was like stages of my style and how it changed and developed, not to where it is now, but probably over a year, and how it changed and grew from there. And that's how my style developed.
Right.
And then it's constantly inspiration of what I like, and adding that, and fitting it within what I had, and changing it. Because I'm the type of person, I'll get bored with my own shit. So it's like, I'll look at it and be like, man, I'm tired of doing this right here. I need to change it. And then I'll start experimenting, and it'll change organically. And then I'm like, okay, this is that. And it might look like the same style to everybody else, but to me, it's like little intricate changes.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm getting better with it. And also, I want to say, I used to illustrate for Rolling Out. I illustrated for them for 10 years.
Okay.
And within those illustrations, you could see my style get better over the years. And it's more like me getting comfortable, experimenting, playing.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta remain childlike in that sense.
Mm-hmm. I think the key is experiment also. Yeah.
Definitely.
Just try things out.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're gonna like.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what you like, it's hard for you to apply it to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. W.
Yeah, to build off what he said, it's you gotta experiment, you know. And I look at it like you keep trying things, and the things that resonate with you, you put in your toolbox and you add it to your mix. You're not going and ripping anybody's thing off. You're not looking at their work and being like, hey, I want to do whatever they're doing. You're looking at it like, hey, I like this. I want to try this in my way, and over time you develop it. I find sometimes people ask like about style, like it's something you pick up.
Right.
Like, you just like you
Right.
purchase it. Like, when did you get your style?
I got mine sell at Walmart.
Yeah, I just picked another style up last week.
I trade your style.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the style is also kind of who you are. You'll gravitate towards it. If you're a very meticulous person in some aspects, you'll have a meticulous style. If you're a very loose person, you probably will have a looser style. So it depends. The things that resonate with you, you keep, and that builds on to what you do. And as far as like technical stuff, that's the same thing. You know, you may see a better way to do stuff, and you add to it, and it makes you faster. And it's like you said, it's you wanting to get better. So the more you try, like, okay, if I do it this way, I can be that much better. And I find that the people that are really, really good at something care about getting better in smaller percentages.
Right.
You know, if somebody says, hey, I got a way that is guaranteed to make you 2% better than you are right now, the people that are really serious about this stuff will be like, what is it?
Right.
You know, people that aren't will be like, nah, it's not enough. You know? But yeah, those little things over time make the biggest differences. You know, if you keep getting better at something, even in small increments, and adding to your style, adding to your toolbox, years later you'll see those big progressions and leaps and stuff in your work.
Yeah. That's true. Very good. Thank you, sir.
I don't know if I necessarily have a style. I think I have developed, people have developed a following or familiarity, that word? Familiarity.
You can say the other word, but you can't say that, right?
Based off of following my work for a while, I think my style is more so defined by elements that I use, like my color palette. You know, I'm very big on color, so I understand color theory without being a color theorist. I understand certain colors work better together to produce better contrast and impact. Stylistic elements, like I use a lot of drips and splatters because to me that resonates back into my graffiti history or background. I think my style is a combination of all the styles of artwork that I appreciate. I'm around tattoo artists every day, so lettering and shading is important. Coming from a graffiti background, lettering and typography is a stylistic element that I implement in my pieces. Bold lines is another element that is stylistic to me. And it's like taking all of these different things, mixing them in a pot, and like the previous people said, challenging the way that you output something using those elements. It's almost like cooking. Like if you eat spaghetti every day, then you come across some green peppers and some mushrooms, like, hey, this shit is pretty cool in my spaghetti. So now you start using that. But my style is more so defined by my passion and love for art in general. There's some, Renaissance artists in that. There's some graffiti artists in that, some graphic artists in that, some tattoo artists in that, some skater influence in that. It's like absorbing all the creative things that are around you and repurposing them into something that you put out that's your own. Like with all the people that I mentioned previously, these are artists who definitely have certain styles that I adopt from, but like W said, is like you take it and you add it to your toolbox with your own interpretation of it. You know what I'm saying? I think the worst thing you can do as it pertains to style is fucking bite somebody else's style. And so if I have drips coming off my face and this, that, and other, my elements, and then I see somebody else do that, and their body work don't show that, then you are a style biter. It's one thing to take that and then repurpose it for your own, but when it just looks like a blatant rip, it's like, yo, this is not cool.
Then claim it's theirs.
Yeah,
That's
but style to me is just adapting to the environment, adapting to other artists, and being influenced by a variety of different things, and repurposing it for that in a way that makes it your own.
And that's what I like that growing up as an artist, and we'll get to you, is that I copied a lot of stuff out of the comic books, you know. And of course, we didn't have social media back in those days, so I wasn't posting it saying, "Hey, look what I did." But I think that's the problem that we have in social media, is that artists will try out a style that they've seen somewhere and then post it, and then and make it look like it's something that they came up with, and so on. And so then that makes it.
I mean, it gets worse than that, because somebody blatantly just stole W's. Like, yo, that's not even a style.
Yeah, the whole thing, right.
So
It's
social
straight
media
over it.
opens up the opportunity for lazy ass people to steal styles, steal techniques, and then, you know, just because you in Germany don't mean somebody not gonna come across that shit, you know?
Right.
You know,
but nowadays the whole world is connected, so
yeah, I'm saying, if you're doing something in the art community, you know, and you have a signature style or a signature brand, those paths cross back up at some point. You know, that's why, you know, we've come across countless people who own tattoo shops who just blatantly rip or steal another artist's tattoo and think that nobody's gonna find out about it.
Stole the name too.
Oh man, that's a whole nother story. So it's very important to, a style is an accumulative process. You don't just jump out the box with a style. You don't go to Blick or Sam Flax and pick up a style kit. You know, you have to develop your style. You develop your style by studying other artists and incorporating the things that you like into what is your own, and again, repurposing it to be something that people identify you with. You know, as.
Sweet. Thank you, sir. We're back on Facebook. We were just on YouTube only a second ago.
Okay.
Hey,
Facebook.
For all the people at Facebook, you just missed all the secrets.
I was gonna say, yeah. You need to go to YouTube and rewatch. And we're also gonna podcast this out, all the whole audio by itself too. So we're not losing anything.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Allen and Ms. Carrie.
Really hard to add on to what you threw. Or you have already said it, because that's absolutely true. On the topic, you can't buy a style. That's actually one thing that really frustrates me about like a lot of art books out there. Like I'm gonna dig a little hard on Chris Hart for a second, because the guy just does nothing but he pumps out these books of how to draw anime, how to draw. And it's like, no, this you can incorporate an element that you like there and try to figure out how it works into your style and your growth, but you can't just just say you read a book on how to anime and just have
you're an anime master.
And you trap yourself in a box at that point, because then you think that there's a set of checkbox criteria, and that's the only way you can be a good artist. That's bullshit. It's about the growth. It's about figuring out that fusion that you're making.
It's about fucking up a lot.
Yes, that's a key right there. Yes.
A lot of time wasted, boy. Like, damn, I could have did it this way. Or, I don't like how that come out.
And if you're not messing up, something's wrong.
Right.
You're not doing anything new.
Right.
I remember when I used to, when I started trying to develop some shit, you mess up and you have this little thing on a big ass piece of paper. You would just go to the next paper.
Piece of paper.
You don't want to see that shit anymore.
The paper's not cursed.
Right.
All right. It
Like,
could be a big 11 by 17 piece of paper, and you got like a 2-inch. Like,
shit,
let's start fresh.
Now you look at it, you got sketches all over the place because you gotta try, you gotta experiment, you gotta play, you gotta fuck up.
You fuck up like one eye and the entire page is messed up.
Right.
It's cursed.
One time, the City of Vic was having a show, and mine was like, "Hey, Dub, I want you to put a piece in." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I was putting it off and putting it off. And I was like, okay, let me go ahead and do this. So I started painting, and something was like, you know what, try something new.
Oh shit!
You know, why don't you try some of that retoucher's varnish? And I'm like, well, hell, I'll try it. So I sprayed it on, and then the whole thing got real milky. And I was in shock. Lesson learned, don't do that again.
Hey man, I have been there before, man. I've worked working on a piece before, and it was pretty much done, but I wanted to add like some spray paint to it to give it just like, yo man, I hit the nozzle too hard. I got drips everywhere they wasn't supposed to be, and I was standing back like, how I spent a week and a half painting this shit, but I learned you used the wrong nozzle, you used the wrong cap.
So as you work and you create and have a process, let me make sure I'm gonna word this right. This question. What are some of the favorite tools that you have in Illustrator that you seem to go back to knock out the work that you want to do? And so if any one of you two can start that question, and we'll move our way back.
Okay. With me, it's embarrassing how long it took for me to find the Pathfinder tool. Like, I knew it existed in other programs, and I was always frustrated. I was like, why doesn't Adobe have like a Pathfinder tool? It's like, or I didn't think it was, I thought it was like Union or some other terminology. Then someone's like, oh, you know about the Pathfinder window, right? And I'm like, yeah. And that's become so valuable to me, because beforehand, if I had to make like a joint shape, I was like doing like, 3-layer deep like masking schemas to cut out the area that I needed to get. And that was way too much work, and it was ending up with these like really convoluted files. So I love the Pathfinder tool. I'm with you that I absolutely love the pen tool. Yeah, meat and potatoes of it. I have to admit that I fell in love with the fact that you can do the vary, the stroke.
The width tool, the width variation tool.
Yeah, that's something that I haven't had a chance to play around with as much as I have. I want to, because the stuff that I'm doing, at the end of it, I drop all the strokes and it's just flats, flat fills. But there have been times where it's like, I need to have like a wire running across here. I need to make it look like it's got some perspective. Like, oh, well, I know how to do that. Just take the stroke and and that's really helped me, because I have problems with like consistency of like, if I was trying to just create a shape of that, I would have a hellacious time like trying to keep that even. So that's a really good tool for me. So I think that on my end, that's it. One more is like the recolor tool, where you can like grab a set of objects and like reassign a color scheme. That's great. If you're on a time crunch and you need to get like 300 color variations of things, it's like, that's great, just crank.
Yeah, I think he named the main two for me. The path, the pen tool is the holy grail in Illustrator, and then the Pathfinder tool. The Pathfinder palette has maybe 8 different functions that allow you to merge, subtract, divide, crop, trim, knock out front, knock out back. This is very important, because in 1st grade, my first lesson in art.
Dang, you just like,
let's go back. This is before Adobe was a company, right? My teacher taught us how to make. She taught us, Alice Cooper. She taught us how to make houses and build like scenery using primitive shapes. Circles for the trees, a rectangle for the trunk, a triangle for the roof. So this was my introduction to understanding how shapes are very valuable in creating things, right? So when you flash forward a whole bunch of years to now, the Pathfinder tool is like that on steroids, because you take these shapes, you take a circle and a circle and a circle, and then you merge those, and now you have a Mickey Mouse head. Instead of trying to get a perfect circle here and here with the pen tool. The power is knowing when to use which tool, because everything is not meant for the pen tool. A lot of things are meant for the Pathfinder tool. So those are the main two tools. And then again, the recolor. I don't use it as often as I probably should, but an example as to how it can be used is if you're designing a graphic for a t-shirt, right? And you're presenting it to a client, and so you do a color scheme, and then you set up different color palettes or different color swatches. And then you can take that same design and go to the recolor tool, and you can come up with, let's say if you have 3-4 different colors palettes in your color schemes in your palette, then you go to the recolor, and it allows you to change the colors of that initial image and color scheme to like 3, 4, 5, 6 different ones in a matter of, you know, like a couple of minutes.
Mhm.
So I think the main thing with Illustrator is you don't have to know how to use everything. I'm still operating off of Illustrator 5.5 skills, the pen tool and the Pathfinder tool, because, you know, just the core thing. It's like a car, you know. They add all these new bells and whistles to the car, but it still has an engine. You know, you still got to put gas in it. There's still certain core things that make it a car. So it's the same thing with Adobe Illustrator. But I advocate everybody to totally learn and exploit the pen tool and get familiar with the Pathfinder tool.
Very
And
sweet.
is there anything else in there? Those are the main ones for me.
Well, one of my favorite pastimes is stealing colors. So, and this goes for painting, and it goes for Illustrator. So, one thing, the color sampler is pretty cool. So there's some websites out there that helps you with your color palettes. You can find an actual photo of anything, a person or a magazine, and you put the URL in there, and it generates the color codes of all the color schemes of the pictures.
Dang.
So you can use that if you're doing like a vector illustration of a person and you want to get skin tones. You could actually find a person's skin tones and just get like different color swatches, and you could just sample them and do your thing. You know, of course, the pen tool, Pathfinders is another one. A big thing is like fonts. You know, you gotta have your font game up. So manipulating fonts, the ability to do that by you know, making them, outlining them, and then adjusting them. Because when you're designing with fonts, you just don't want to always just use it straight out, just type a word out and just say that's it.
You
You don't want to do that all the time. Sometimes that may work, sometimes it may not. But if you want to break it apart and then extend it and change it and customize
Chop
it,
it
so
up.
you got to chop it up, you know, because now not all fonts are created equal.
That's the truth.
You know, so you know, some fonts are perfect, you know, and some fonts are good for just headlines. And some fonts are great for logos. And once you get them, you can manipulate them in Illustrator. So the Pathfinder tool is cool. And if you're trying to do branding and logos for people, sometimes you may want to see different colorways. And then the color sampler, which is awesome because you can find an image or some colors out there that you like, and then you can test it out and make your own little color palettes.
Right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Adobe also has a phone app. I'm trying to find it right now. I don't know which one it is. I think it's Adobe
To do
Capture.
Oh, for the colors?
That does the same thing. So like I can open up this app
Mm-hmm.
and let's see if I remember how to do it because I don't really use it that often.
And then you can take a picture of some particular thing.
Without
pull the colors.
Yeah, so I could take a picture over here and it'll pick out the dominant colors from that, and then I can use that as a color palette. Yes, a color palette. Then I can save in the cloud and then use in all of my applications. So that's
Start
one
to
of
build your library.
Yes.
Look at W. Go ahead, right now.
Right. Cool.
I'll be printing these notes out.
Oh, you're gonna share them with everybody. Yes, sir. See Flux Sing.
Of course, you already know. Pen tool, right? Reflection tool, I use that a lot.
Reflection tool.
Reflection tool.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, reflection tool. Gradients, definitely. Pathfinder, of course. Align.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
You can't forget that.
I mean, colors galore. So I use all of the colors, and we got nature and foliage and beach and all that. I use all of those color palettes. What else? That's pretty much it for the most part.
But and when you do client work, you do break it down by layers, right? You don't. When you do client work for illustration and stuff, like when you work on your own stuff, you may do it all. You do whatever you want, but you
Nah, I
keep
mean,
track.
majority of the time with that, I'm sending the client a JPEG.
JPEG, yeah, they're not getting
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're not getting the Illustrator file unless it's something for T-shirts or something like that, or a logo per se. Like if they need to resize it, I might give them the vector of that. But
or if they pay for it.
yeah,
Right. Well, they always gotta pay for it.
I'm just saying, but like sometimes, like
They just need a JPEG.
yeah, they just need a JPEG. Like if a person has a certain budget, you don't get the source file.
Right.
You get a
Right.
JPEG or you get a PDF.
person with a huge budget can get anything
You get
they
whatever
want.
you want.
I need you to come deliver it over the house in person.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
that
so-
delivery fee on there, we there.
Yeah, you know. So that's pretty much it. Layer wise, it ain't too much.
No. Okay. Cool. Mr. Goldi Gold.
Yeah, pen tool all day. Pen tool all day, just because the way I use it is kind of crazy. I mean, he's followed, like, I've sent him illustrations of, sometimes I'll be embarrassed, like, man, because I'll be using all these crazy shortcuts, but it works, you know what I mean? So pen tool, the transparency, you know, all the time, especially when I'm adding, like, the hard highlights in the face. I was like, dang, this ain't even close enough. Gotta add some transparency to that, and colors, all the earth tone, like he said, the jewel joint and that, and the back and forth thing on there, because I don't use layers, so everything is back, forth, group, back, forth. So most of those tools right there.
Yeah, that grouping gets me sometimes because you want to group something, and then so you can align it to something else. And if you don't do the group and you start aligning things, it's messing up all your the way
Yeah,
you
you
lay it out.
gotta be, man. You gotta be. That's grouping is like, it's almost like making sure you save your work as you do your work. That's how I do it. I'll be like, especially when you working on something, you get caught up. I'll be like, man, did I just save it? So just in case something happened, because this dude told me when he went to school, when he was working the Illustrator, his teacher would actually pull the plug on him while they was working on it.
Oh wow!
But that was to get him to be like, yo, you need to save it as you go along. And he's like,
Him out the class, so
but that's real though. I mean, because sometimes we get caught up while we're working and anything can happen. You know what I
and
mean?
it has happened, bro.
That's
The hard drive crash,
I lost
the
just
power goes
freeze.
out, the freeze.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of shit now saving shit
Hey,
sometimes.
that's the tip right there. Save every like.
Man.
Every time you feel satisfied.
Right. When you do something, when you spend some time and you get that look or that feel or whatever it is that you save that shit, and then save in between saving.
Yeah.
Just save.
If you gotta ask yourself, did I save this? Save it.
Yeah.
Save it, yeah.
Save
What has
it.
happened to me before, I'll be like, yeah, this is good,
Or-
and then
or-
then I do something, and all of a sudden the illustrator will be like, oh, I'm quitting right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That light blink. Yo, what the hell happened to?
Yeah.
Let me say this. Let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
Really, something about to happen.
When you doing something real detailed,
Uh-huh.
like when you really getting meticulous and intricate with some shit, you gonna say that.
But
every-
sometimes you get caught up
Yeah.
while doing
Nah,
it.
what I'm saying is do that because when I was messing with them dang Lyric Jones earrings and shit,
Oh
I
no,
wanted to make sure
Yeah.
nothing happened,
Yeah.
I would
so I had it.
I would
all
have
the
cried
time.
if you had to redo those, boy. I would have
And
cried for you
also-
like jealousy.
Also, name your files accurately.
Oh yeah. I be catching
You know,
L's with that.
Because
I be catching
it's easier
some
said than
L's.
done, but it does help when somebody calls you up from like 4 years ago and it's like, hey man, do you still have that thing you did for me? And I'm like, what thing did I do for you?
Right.
And like, the logo design, you're like, oh, let me go see. But if you have it named accurately and when you save it, it makes it so much easier to find it.
I mean, but that's my issue right there. I mean, I usually save it, but sometimes I have the picture I use as reference.
Yeah.
So the name of the picture is 5679
Yeah.
892.jpg, and
That's the name of the vector too.
and I forget. Dang, that's the I worked with that image side to side and saved it, and then all of a sudden, let me. Dang. So now I'm like looking at numbers and all of that, and then I might find the name, but that was the sketch. So yeah. Right, for real.
And
name that shit wisely.
And then say, go ahead, Doug.
I said and what happens sometimes is you copy and save it and back it up, and you have to have duplicate files, and you'll have like this. There's like all these files, and like, okay, is this version one, or is this version the right version of one? Yeah. But there's some software where it's a file duplicator finder, and you can find all the duplicate files on your hard drive. And it lets you know which ones you can get rid of and all that stuff.
See, now you see that information he just said. That's when this
yeah, because somebody showed that to me, and I was like, oh, duplicate. Yeah.
Very good. So, has anybody tried any other vector software, and what was that like, or why not, or why do you?
There are other ones.
I mean, people use Corel, but I don't know. Do people use that still?
It's like once you get comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Illustrator or die. There's nothing else.
I wouldn't know how to use anything else.
I wouldn't want to know. I'm still trying to learn how to use Illustrator.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So no, nothing else. I mean, there's a new one. It's mostly geared towards people who are into manga, comic book art. I think it's Manga Studio or something like that. Where it's actually a good program. It's a stripped down version of Adobe Illustrator where it only focuses on the drawing and the brush tools for that particular purpose. So you don't have all the other robust things that Illustrator has. But I'm like, shit, if I can do it in Illustrator, I don't need another program.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, because you're talking to cats that have been using it for years, decades even.
20 years.
And you know, it's wild because we use the tools. Everybody mentioned the pen tool and Pathfinder tool, right? But if you go on like a site that got tutorials, and you look at some illustrated tutorials, and you be like, how the fuck did he do that, or what is he using? Then that's just to show how vast the program is.
Yeah.
But how little you only need to get what you want out of it.
Because I have a template approach to doing things. I use the tools, but then every now and then there's a style or texture or feel that I'm looking to achieve that I got to go to find a tutorial to do. And I may not find that exact tutorial to do that, but I may find one that shows me the steps to get me close, and then I can improvise. But the other important tool in Illustrator is to continue learning it. Man, I remember you mentioned, people approaching you, hey, how do you do this, that, and the other? People, Google. Because when we started, there was no Google. There was no social media.
No YouTube.
No YouTube.
You had to play with it.
You had to go to Barnes and Noble and buy the book.
Or expropriate it.
Not even expropriate. Border.
How you do that? You skinny guy. How you gonna? What do you do with a big book?
Hey man, I'm from Cleveland and it's 20 below.
Oh, so you got coats.
Trench coat. It's ways, but those days are behind me.
Yeah.
But it's important to we don't have all the answers. We're telling what we use, but you have to go to find the tutorial sites that focus or emphasize on vector art. And there's a lot of different things to learn. I learn every time I look up something like, oh, okay. Just like what I taught him about the Pathfinder tool, I had just learned that myself. And I know that our styles are similar, so I'm like, yo, you want to try this out. So he brought it up today because he used it. So it's like there's always room to learn. But for most of us, I can look at W's work. I can tell he's not really doing anything new as far as the tools go. Now, style-wise and what he experiments with may be different. but the tools we use, we all name the same tools.
Same tools.
Because you start off your careers as artists,
Yeah.
and that's where you're coming in as an artist, and so you want to use the tools that
just like that
bring your artwork.
Yeah, like Illustrator has the blob tool. You mentioned that, which like if you're in Illustrator and you use a digital tablet, you can actually get a painterly type effect using the blob tool. The thing with the blob tool for me is, it leaves way too many points.
Right.
I like real sharp, clean lines, so I create my own lines. Now, in my research and studying other artists the other day on Behance, I came across an artist who does vector work using the blob tool, and his style was dope. It was like, yo, I may try to use the blob tool to do a piece, and then mix and mesh. So it's a process where you're going to, for the most part, 90% of the time, you're going to keep using the tools that get you to A and B all the time, especially if you're doing paid work, because you're not really trying to experiment too much with somebody.
Well, when you're getting paid, you want to be effective and knock out
get it done.
what you're looking at.
But for personal work, sky's the limit.
Experiment all you want.
Exactly.
So you mentioned the color picking, the color app.
It's called Adobe Capture, but Adobe also has, they acquired a site that is also part of the, they got everything, bro.
They're rich.
It's called Cooler, KULER.com. You can go there, and this is the color site of all color sites, because you can you can download swatches for presets that people have uploaded and shared, and it's a vast library. So, like case in point, I go on and I want to get a gold texture, and I'm looking for a color palette for gold. You type in gold, and you come up with all different types of color swatches that you can save in your cloud as your assets, and that you can import into all your programs to get that. So, KULER.com.
Oh. KU.
And what was it that you used? KU. Cooler.
Okay.
Cooler.
Okay. ER.
Yeah.
KULER. But W, you say how do you manage your colors?
Oh, I just take it.
What do you do? Like, you save the image that you find online, or how do you?
I forgot the name of the actual site, but you can just find the image and copy the file where it's located,
The URL,
and it'll break it down for you. Yeah, and it'll just have all the numbers and everything for you to just type in.
So when you
right here, cool. Is it there?
No, let me go find it.
KULER.
You might have to Google Adobe Cooler.
Oh, this is Cooler Solutions.
So because when you get home, W, or when you get around to a computer and you find the link to that website, please post it on the video so that people can catch up with that.
You talking about this, right?
Okay, the correct site is color.
Son.
My fault. Well, that's what it used to be until Adobe bought it. So it's color.adobe.com.
Oh, they had to slide their
Put that Adobe in there.
Color.adobe.com. Tune in on YouTube for free tutorials and tips on Adobe Illustrator, and visit www.vectormaestros.com.